These motherfuckers right here. Yes, these motherfuckers right here. Fuck 'em. We don't want to talk about them. It's getting boring as fuck. These motherfuckers right here. Yes, these motherfuckers right here. Fuck 'em. We don't want to talk about them. It's getting boring as fuck. These motherfuckers right here. Yes, these motherfuckers right here. Fuck 'em. We don't want to talk about them. It's getting boring as fuck.
Those donkey balls are bouncing all around. Bounce up, bounce up. Balls up above. Those donkey balls are bouncing all around. Those donkey balls are bouncing all Those donkey balls are bouncing all around. Those donkey balls are bouncing, making all praise.
Sniffing, you can smell them. Those donkey balls are yelling, and they're swinging to the beat of a loser's song. Never turn your back, 'cause those donkey balls are bouncing on your dreams. Suck 'em. Those donkey balls are bouncing on your chin again. What a silly, got to grin again and again. Never turn your back, 'cause those donkey balls are bouncing on your dreams. Suck 'em. Those donkey balls are bouncing on your chin again. What a sin, we gotta grin again and again.
He would be so scared to see me.
Everybody thinks we was doing this shit, doxing motherfuckers. Nah, they came at us first.
I got a fire raging in my front yard.
Oh, why did you set your front yard on fire? Are you drinking again?
Slacking off the podcast. Fuck your city, your boss. You cause false authorities. Slacking off the podcast. Fuck your team, dog balls. You call them false authorities.
What's up, guys?
Hello.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Shit. Yep.
Hello.
Dr. Balls, can we hear Dr. Balls?
I know.
No, we don't hear Dr. Balls, and he don't have a live camera either. Jason?
Yeah, what's up?
I guess this makes you captain, Jason.
Oh, I'm the captain tonight?
Fuck yeah, man. Until Dr. Balls emerges.
Dude, I was like, do you guys really want that evil? Because, I mean, that's what I always tell everybody at work. Where it's like, hey, you're producing the show today. I'm like, you really want that evil? I don't know if you do or not.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you, Ed.
All right.
All right. So I guess I am steering the ship after all. I wasn't expecting it. I was actually finishing up my last game of NHL 25 over here in the studio. So, welcome to Smoke. Let me do it in my. Do you want me to do it in my sports talk voice, or you want me to do it in my rockin' FM DJ voice?
Yeah, you're rocking FM DJ voice.
Hey everybody, welcome to Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm your host Nick Nostalgia here on a balmy Tuesday night here on W Balls. Wait, that's Big Dog thing. I don't want to get us sued, but. So we really have a lot to talk about, even though that it is the off season. I mean, that's actually a swear word according to some people. That is the off season when it comes to football, but there's still quite a bit to talk about. There's the NFL draft, obviously, that's coming up tomorrow, which I've got some thoughts on that here in a second, and then I'll let you guys take the floor. And then something I want to kind of get into is like, so we just got past WrestleMania, and John Cena winning the WWE Championship for the 17th time, surpassing Ric Flair, becoming the GOAT, and part of a story, part of the whole storyline of selling his soul to the devil, who is The Rock. So it got me thinking of like storylines that we're interested in seeing heading into the 2025 season, and it doesn't have to be just SEC. But it can be Big Ten, it can be, or it could be something that's off the field when it comes to all this chaos. When it comes to paying players, which I guess you guys saw that the NCAA is now finally, I think, after 15 years too late, that now they're like putting a proposal out to let school pay the players, which is probably
Haven't they been doing that?
It's like I said, it's a proposal. Too little, too late at this point. You're just.
I mean, isn't that what a collective is?
Pretty much, you're right. Yes, that's what the collective thing was to kind of be the workaround. Which the collective has been beneficial, also been a detriment. We can have a conversation about that going on. So, actually, since I'm the substitute teacher here this evening.
Hey, one second. Sean, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got everybody.
Okay, cool.
All right. So
Dr. Balls is the only one who is mute.
Okay, and I was gonna say, Dr. Balls comes back, he can go ahead and he could steer the ship. But I guess if I'm the substitute teacher for the day, I'm gonna let the kids pick the first subject that they are wanting to talk about. And here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna I'm going to point at my screen and go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Wait, do we have Dr. Balls? Fuck, I may not be able
Dr. Balls, do we have you?
Okay, not yet. I've still got a chance to get this in. Okay, here.
5.
Chop. All right, meeny, meeny, miny, mo. You are not it. Nikki, go.
I want to talk about quarterback situation.
Quarterback situation, okay.
In college football, we got Nico. They just traded him for the quarterback from UCLA. Madden Nico is all of a sudden in the portal.
Yeah,
Thoughts on Tennessee grabbing? They've gone after how many quarterbacks in the last few days and got shot down and ended up with UCLA's quarterback.
Yeah, it was almost like kind of like the first unofficial trade in college football, because I would not go and say that it was like the Luka Doncic trade that happened with the Lakers, which was just bizarre and caught me off guard. But I find it a bit ironic that, number one, and I have mentioned this too on the podcast before, that number one, Nico Iamaleava goes to UCLA, but UCLA also turns around. They're taking somebody in where they got burned. They were the jilted lover. They were the girl that was turned down at prom night by the Iamaleavas, and now they're turning around and coming back to both of them. It is almost like the desperate girl in high school that is still trying
taking both of them.
Yeah, not just the hot quarterback, but also so it's almost like a Dawson's Creek episode. It seems
it is. Maybe we should start a reality. I mean, it's not just them, but this is the first big name quarterback in college that is pretty much forcing the team to give them so much money that gets pushed aside, is making way less than half after taxes than he would have been meeting. So I'm kind of wondering if his family's not telling the truth on the fact that it wasn't about the money. It was about Tennessee. It was about the offensive line is gone. It's about they're worried for him. But then I have to question you. He's going to UCLA. How is that an upgrade?
Well, the sidetrack.
I have an answer to that question.
Okay, go ahead. I'll sidetrack here in a sec.
And I'll be real quick. When they tell you it's not about the money, it's definitely about the money.
Yeah,
it's always about.
The
money.
Thank you, Sean.
So if North Dakota State is offering, or South Dakota State, or even Montana, is offering me $40 million, and Tennessee only offers me $4 million, I'm going to go play for Montana.
Yeah, but UCLA didn't offer him more. He's making half of what he would
because he had no leverage. He had no zero leverage.
Zero leverage, exactly. Ed's absolutely right. He had zero leverage, so now tail tucked between his legs. He's got to go somewhere. He's got to play. See, that's the one thing that the school has a bit of leverage on. If they turn you down, you're not going back to Tennessee, and you can't go to the SEC. You can't go in the same conference. You got to go somewhere because you have to play. Because the ultimate goal is to get to the NFL, and if you're not putting film on tape, you're not doing anything. So you got to play. So that's the bit of leverage that the schools have, is you got to be somewhere where you, in the fall, can put a helmet and pads on and play and put your film, put your craft on film. So there's that, but money is the key matter in this whole thing.
Can Nico win the locker room at UCLA?
He already did.
I mean, UCLA football hasn't been, very good for lately. So sure, why not? If he plays well, winning cures all.
I mean, is his brother going to beat him out at this point?
Probably not.
Well, that's interesting.
That'd be funny.
I mean, so I think it's almost, for me, it's laughable on both sides. Tennessee's been begging for quarterbacks all week. I've heard Tennessee fans, oh no, Josh has someone in his back pocket that's coming in once the portal opens. And I'm like, okay, well, where's he at? You've been turned down by Hooper and TCU. You've been turned down by multiple decent, not massive quarterbacks. So you've been turned down.
Tampering. Sorry. God, something in my throat there.
Like no one was listening there.
Sorry about that, guys.
Now, I believe the offense at Tennessee is so simple, and the reads are so simple that you could bring a guy in that was a quick study, nearly from, not necessarily from off the street, but even from a smaller program to run that.
But they lost so much of their offensive line. I think that's the issue that quarterbacks are kind of worried about at this point.
Well, no, they got the guy from App State that went to UCLA, and he's pretty good.
But that's a quarterback.
I think that the jury might still be out, but the one thing you say about Josh Heupel's offense, it's very, very quarterback friendly. It's not too complex. It's easy to digest.
He builds it around that quarterback.
Exactly. So, like anybody, and the thing about it is, and yes, I know that's college football fans. We live in two things. Let's just be, if we're truly honest with ourselves, and if you hear this and don't get offended, then you're a real one. That we live in false realities and hypotheticals when it comes to college football fans. We do. Here's the reality. For even Tennessee or for any program, for your starting quarterback to go into the portal in the spring, like right when the portal window opens, and then you have to turn around and get another possible quarterback. Yes, you have George McIntyre. Yes, you have Jake Merklinger, who have been in the program and are familiar with it. But again, it comes down to how confident are you? Maybe they are. But the thing about it is, and it's key in the SEC, is depth. You're not really going to survive, and I wouldn't roll the dice in the SEC with two quarterbacks on the depth chart. There's just no way to do that. So did they try to go out and try to get that home run? Yeah, I did it again, man. My bad, guys. Yes, they did. And
more than one team.
And then again, there's
that lets me right there. It answered that question you just said. How comfortable is he with these two quarterbacks? Right there shows me he's not.
Well, probably not 100% confident in them because
if he would have tried to go after someone younger, okay, but you can be backup. I've got him as my starter.
But the thing about it is, though, I didn't think that Tennessee needed to go out and get that home run hire. Really, to tell you the truth, I think Tennessee is going to take a little bit of a step back this season.
Exactly.
We will get into more of that because that actually kind of ties into one of my storylines in the quarterback position. My storyline that I'm going to be following for the 2025 season on the field. But you had to get that third quarterback just for the sake of depth. You've got somebody who has experience. Granted, it's at the group of five level, but it's someone who has experience in that. So if Jake Merklinger does not all of a sudden turn on the switch, or George McIntyre doesn't turn on the switch, then you've got a backup. You have some kind of serviceable backup.
Yeah, I think it's more than that because they're dropping too much money onto him.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is looking for work these days.
Does he still have eligibility?
I think he does.
Well, has Pat McAfee given him a call yet? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jason. I think Tennessee will likely take a step back this year. It's and they have a tough schedule. So.
See, it's a shame that they can't build on what they've done. I mean, if you looked at it purely from an outsider point of view and you left culture to the side, you'd be saying to yourself, well, we were just in the college football playoffs and surely we can build on that and move forward. But now having to repop it again right after that happened is got to be difficult for anybody. But thankfully for Tennessee, everybody else is doing that as well. So, but not to the extent that is. And that's why it's so interesting to me that he would leave and lose money. So he'd leave a situation that could have been built on and lose money. To me, there's got to be more than that. There's got to be something more there. And really, I didn't feel that Nico was that good, guys. I mean, I don't hate to be nice there and nitpick these guys and stuff. And the reason I brought up the simple reads and stuff is after you've made and or missed your reads in that offense, right? Now the offensive line has to keep you upright for a minute while you try to figure something else out. And he had some escapability, but was more like panic than a plan. So after you've made or missed your first two reads in Tennessee's offense, one of them is which whether or not to just hand the ball off, whether or not one of them is whether or not just to run a little slant across the middle, and one is to keep it and go. So you've already missed two of those reads. Guys are hanging on for dear life on the offensive line, and now you've got a guy that's not creative in the pocket. He's just in panic. So to me, Tennessee, if they could get somebody that was average that didn't panic in the pocket and make big mistakes, they might actually prosper from Nico leaving.
Well, I think, really, to tell you the truth, I think they already are, because number one, you actually got a lot of good things out of this. Now, granted, Nico did find another home. His camp played themselves, but in the end, Tennessee has now opened that money up a little bit. They don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about the potential $4 million, which they can go and probably throw it at Faison Brandon, who's going to be their commit coming into the 2026 class, at least for now.
But they're giving him, what are they giving the new guy? 1.4?
Yeah, basically about the same as what Nico's about.
Then they gave their basketball player right at 2.
Which one was that, Nikki?
I'm trying to think of his name because everyone was laughing. So you'll throw that money at the basketball player, but you won't even consider it with your Heisman candidate quarterback. That's Tennessee's course, not mine.
Could it have been Chaz Lanier, maybe?
I can't remember. I usually
he's worth that money. Chaz Lanier in today's age is worth that money. And guys, I mean, Tennessee has relevance in basketball. Here it is, April. We're in the middle of the hot stove season for college football, and we just mentioned Tennessee basketball. I mean, that's unprecedented. So I would have made that investment. Plus, they don't have to make a $500,000 investment times 53. They only have to make a $2 million investment by 2 or 3, and then work their way down the line. So they've only got 12 to 14 guys they've got to pay, whereas you've got to pay 50 to 75 in the college ranks. Something you got to pay them something. So, if you can focus on a guy that's a guaranteed All-American or somebody that's going to take you back to the Elite Eight, then that's a good move on Tennessee's part. But to your point, Nikki, football should be bigger in Tennessee, and a guy of a prestigious quarterback could do a lot. But if you remember the last time they won the Natty, there was a similar situation. So the bowl they started the college football playoffs in was
Dr. Balls
analogous to being in the
sneaky good segue. A sneaky good segue into tonight's show. He's referencing Tennessee national champion quarterback T. Martin, who was one of the Brady Six. In the 2000 NFL draft, there were 6 quarterbacks taken ahead of Tom Brady, and T. Martin was one of them. That's a great segue, Dr. Balls.
Hallelujah. I was trying to ease us into it. So, and that's where we're at now. If you want to talk the draft, that's where we're at now. We're looking at a bunch of different quarterbacks, and I don't know that any of them are Dan Marino or John Elway.
This is certainly not the 1983 NFL draft as far as quarterbacks are concerned. And by the way, the other quarterbacks in that Brady Six that we were looking for, other than T. Martin, who's 1, Chris Redman, Chad Pennington, that's 3. Spurgeon Wynn is 4. Mark Bulger's 5. And who am I missing? Giovanni Carmazzi from Delaware, 6.
Who?
Who came up with the term Brady Six?
It was a show on NFL Films because there were 6 quarterbacks taken in that draft before
somebody
Brady.
Needs to call Sherwood Swartz, the Brady Bunch creator, because the Brady Six was a singing act in the Brady Bunch. Remember?
This is the NFL, Doug. They got plenty of money.
I don't have the album, but I'm sure there was one released.
And Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round with pick 199.
Damn it, Jim.
Became the GOAT. But yeah, this draft, as far as quarterbacks, not great. Projected right now, 2 quarterbacks in the 1st round. We all know who they are at this point. Cam Ward from Miami, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. Thoughts, gang?
We need to congratulate him and Hunter.
Yeah, there's a rumor for 3, Ed. Who do you think's the 3rd?
Dart.
You think Dart's going to go in the first? We should make a wager offline on that.
Because teams reach.
They do reach. They get desperate for a quarterback, and a quarterback can change the franchise. But the talk I've been hearing is a lot of the franchises that were desperate to get quarterbacks in the future and made bad picks are looking at linemen this year, especially offensive linemen and edge rushers. That's why I wonder who can go in the first round. Otherwise, as a quarterback, Sanders. I mean, he has a lot of talent, and a lot of people project him going to the Giants. And I mean, I can see that, right? But if I were the Giants, I would wait till next year's draft. This year, I'd get an offensive lineman, but he could, in which an edge rusher. So they're projected to get an edge rusher probably first. So the Giants are pretty smart. I mean, if you can pick up somebody with athleticism, Shaheer Sanders late in the first round, the Giants, I think, are the team that are most likely to get him. That's my opinion.
You kind of put a nice little segue into kind of my thoughts on this NFL draft because really, to tell you the truth, I have a confession. I probably should not say this on any kind of live television, any kind of content whatsoever. But this NFL draft is just like very, very underwhelming. Not only because I'm cynical about the Atlanta Falcons and how they're going to screw it up like they do every year, or the Cowboys, yes. But it's just like, now I will say this: if you hold on,
can I interrupt you real quick? Just for a second. After you finish your thought,
let me just.
We need to go around the horn and give everyone's teams for the draft. Go ahead, Jason.
Okay.
Can I pick a new one?
I'm just gonna throw this out here. If you are an in the trenches kind of person, this NFL draft makes your nipples hard. Because
waiting to word nipple.
Yes. So now we got our college basketball reference in. Another college basketball reference in. So
by the way, also news on him going to the NBA draft nipple.
No, not a surprise. He was projected to be in that lottery conversation. So yeah, no surprise.
But now we won't be able to talk about him. It's sad.
Yes, we can. We'll just have to have an NBA segment just to talk about nipples. I mean,
there you go. There you go. But yes, this draft for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, edge rushers, if you are looking for one, this is the draft to do it.
I don't even care if we're looking for what kind of draft I love. These are the drafts that you see the no names of college football, almost like the Brock Purdy's Mr. Relevant, turn into something when they get on a certain team.
This is definitely a meat and potatoes kind of a draft for sure. I would agree with that, Jason. It's going to be, if you're looking for the Ferrari, it's going to be more of your, Silverado or Ford F-150 kind of a draft. It's muscle versus flash and pizzazz for the most part. But that's how, as we've seen at both the college and NFL level, everyone was excited for the flash and pizzazz of the Kansas City Chiefs in this past year's Super Bowl, and it was brute force and physicality by the Philadelphia Eagles that won that Super Bowl. And that's kind of it's kind of moving back in that direction. And that was how Michigan beat Ohio State this past year, who had all the bells and whistles and toys, but they weren't as physical at the point of attack at the line of scrimmage. And that's kind of how this draft is shaping up to be.
And I think that's how the pendulum is going for both the NCAA and the NFL football world is the brutal physicality. They're trying to bring some of that back, especially in the pros where they've modified the rules with less touching and hitting above the shoulders and stuff like that. So the defense and the physicality is becoming key in the NFL. And it already started to swing in the last couple of years in the college football. And I know we've had lots of debates on the show over the years, especially beaming the eye about what's more effective, trying to put out the most yards or trying to physically control the line of scrimmage. And I'm a believer in the latter. There were lots of great teams that had great offenses, such as the Houston Oilers, the Atlanta Falcons under Jerry Granville, that put up lots of yards and couldn't win championships. But whereas
I was saying,
physical,
no Super Bowls for either of those organizations, by the way.
Nope.
right?
So let's
So-
run it around the horn here. Nikki, your NFL team?
I haven't decided yet.
Giving up on the Cowboys already?
Well, for the draft, they piss me off every year at the draft. So
Everybody's mad at the draft. Come on, everybody gets mad at the draft.
yeah, I'm a Cowboys girl.
Dr. Balls, who you got?
I got the Bungles.
Burrow and Chase.
Jason?
There you go.
Atlanta Falcons still have Super Bowl 51 trauma that I just can't live down to this day, but I am interested. I'm really interested to see like the Tennessee Titans, since I live here in the Nashville area, where it looks like they're likely going to take Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick, which I'm not entirely mad at. I'm not mad
I was
at
just going to
it.
ask you. I'm hearing it's like a signed and delivered deal that he's the dude. Is that what you're hearing?
From what I'm hearing around here, it's looking that way. It's looking like it's going to be Cam Ward as the number 1 pick. Interesting enough, moving on from Will Levis. God bless him. He can drink all the coffee or
He
all
loves
the coffee
mayonnaise.
with the mayo that he wants to while holding a clipboard or going somewhere else. Because
Are you going to switch your allegiances from the Falcons to the Titans? Is that what I'm hearing?
I've almost kind of become neutral, and I blame NFL Red Zone for it, and also BetMGM because I've just pretty much like I thought about getting NFL Sunday Ticket this year or last year, and then the more I thought about it, it's like I have to change a lot of channels, and I feel like that's just way too much. NFL Red Zone has spoiled me for the last decade, and thank God it's on DirecTV Stream. So I buy that with the package, and I'm good. And I just leave it on there all day, and my wife just groans. But it's there. I go back and forth, and I'm like sitting here because thank God we can legally bet in Tennessee, Alabama. Where the hell are you at? I can sit on my couch and place a bet on a live total or a live spread and go, okay, yeah, let's put Warriors in 5, a little $15 there, and just sit back and watch the action. It's great. I love living in Tennessee, but the Titans, I'm just not 100% like as good as Cam Ward can be and the potential that's there. Like the Titans organization just kind of leaves me a little like, okay, I'm not ready to make that declaration yet because ever since Bud Adams has died in that organization, Amy Adams Strunk has ran that organization to the ground.
So you're going to hang on with the Falcons for now?
Until they piss me off again, which will probably be the first game of the year.
Ed, who you got?
So it's the Commanders, and we need to address the defensive line first and then the secondary.
I was saying you can't be too upset though, Ed. You got Jaden Daniels who's looking.
No, but if we're going to win a championship, the defense has to get better.
Sure, no doubt. And me, Sean is a Raiders fan. We suck equally. I've seen us suck in Los Angeles, Oakland, and now we're in Vegas sucking. So life is great.
I think you're going to be better. I think the Raiders will be better.
We only have one way to go, Ed. That's up.
I was going to say the bar is not set too high. So
I would say I think we won 4 games maybe 5. So Doug, you got any dog in this fight at all?
I'm gonna have to go with the. It's real close for me. It's between the Canton Bulldogs and the
Pottsville Maroons.
No, the Duluth Eskimos.
Duluth Eskimos. Yeah, I remember. Yes, that was a real team.
Wait, you talking about?
Doug dropping the old school knowledge.
You talking about that CFL here on this podcast?
No.
I know. I'm kidding.
That is old school NFL, man. That's
back when NFL, man.
By the way,
that's when they poured the helmets with concrete, reinforced with rebar.
The owner of the Duluth team, fun story, going way back in NFL lore. After the other owners of the NFL complained about having to go to Duluth, Minnesota for so many years, got the owner of that Duluth team to basically fold his team. But they gave him and his family buy-in if another Minnesota franchise was ever started. And 38 years later, when the Vikings became the Vikings, that family has some ownership in the new Minnesota team.
Well, and because going to Bloomington in December was a fucking picnic.
Yeah, the old Met. Yeah, nothing like playing in -7-degree weather where they have a blowtorch to thaw the field out.
The visiting team's like, hey, can we go to Lambeau instead?
Yeah, Lambeau was decidedly warmer than going to the old Metropolitan.
Exactly.
Out there in Minnesota.
It was a picnic with popsicles, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks like Cam Ward's going to be the first pick. So, I mean, and as we said, this is not the sexiest of drafts. So, all of our teams have a selection. So, let's roundtable. Let's go to Nikki first with the Cowboys. Who would you like to see, Nikki, if you could get with your Cowboys?
If I could, I want Gentry.
Yeah. You want Ashton Gentry of Boise State. Why?
I like how he runs the ball. We need that. We need that pizzazz, I should say. We suck. We know Dak's going to get hurt. So we need a quarterback that can go over, or a player that can come in there and run with any quarterback.
And we know Zeke is long in the tooth. He's not feeding anymore. Feed Zeke.
He's gone.
Finally, right?
He was traded to the playoffs and then lost the first round. But I don't know. Jerry came out today saying there was something up his sleeve, that there will be trades before the draft and during the draft. That's not like him. So maybe I'll be surprised this year.
trying to find that glory hole. That's what Jerry's trying to do.
Yeah, because you can take what he says to the bank, right?
I want me some glory hole.
But when it comes
Jerry's
to that,
never led you astray before, has he, Nikki? Come on, Jerry's on.
No, but when he is talking about trading, usually he's getting his ways. So I'll give him something. Maybe he'll trade up. I doubt it, but I can hope.
How about Dr. Bowles? You and your Bengals. Who do you like in Cincinnati?
I'm thinking maybe Derek Harmon from Oregon, 6'5", 310-pound defensive lineman. Probably be a defensive tackle. I don't know if he'll be the nose guard, but anything that'll help him create a little bit more pressure up front, have a little bit more push, that'll be good for the Bengals.
Yeah, you got to have some defensive players in that tough AFC North division there with Steelers, Ravens, and Browns.
Oh yeah, well you got to be able to keep them guys off the field too, and
you got to protect your quarterback, man. Joe Burrow, he's a hell of a quarterback, but if he's on his back, that's not going to help you in your fantastic receiving duo.
There's some talk about trying to move up with trades, but I think that they'd have to give up too much. But if I could get enough assets together, I would try to move up to your point. I agree with you that you're right. I would try to move up and maybe try to pick up Will Campbell somewhere in the first 5 picks. Or maybe
rumor is Will Campbell will be going to the New England Patriots to protect their new golden boy at quarterback, Drake May. That's the rumor for Campbell.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
If you could get an offensive lineman to protect Joe Burrow, I think that would behoove the Bengals because we've seen the last couple of years Joe Burrow goes down, the Bengals kind of go down.
Well, yeah, he is my opinion, a generational talent, and we're blessed right now. The NFL has several generational talents. Quarterback, in my opinion, it's the most loaded it's been since the '80s. When Fouts, Elway, Montana, and Marino were all playing at the same time. I mean, my goodness, you know.
You didn't give your own guy any credit. Little Boomer Esiason for you,
Esiason kind of came in at the end of that, and he was a good play action quarterback, but I wouldn't give all the credit to him. Now, if you want to go back to Ken Anderson, he deserves to be.
You're preferable to Ken Anderson. I know.
Yeah.
Which in '84, you guys were set to draft Steve Young, but he he spurned you to go to the LA Express of the USFL. I'm sure you remember that.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. And Steve Young would have been great at the Bengals at that time in that system, and plus his ability to run as well. Of course, I'm a huge fan of Steve Young, but it's a sad day. But when he did show back up, he got to be on one of the worst teams of all time, and that was one of the most entertaining things in my life was watching Steve Young with Tampa Bay. If anybody remembers any of that.
You had
But
two Super Bowl winning quarterbacks on those terrible Tampa Bay teams in the 80s. One was Steve Young, obviously, who later went on to win the Super Bowl with the 49ers in 94. But then you also, before that, you had poor Doug Williams, who went on to win a Super Bowl with Ed's team in
That's right.
87. I think he still holds the Super Bowl record for most touchdown passes in a quarter. So let's move to Ed. Ed, who do you want to draft? Who's the name on the board that you want to see Thursday night?
So I want Roger Goodell to actually say prior to announcing the pick that this is a Dr. Balls special.
I don't think Roger follows this. I hope he does. It'd be great.
And with the 29th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select defensive end Michael Green from Marshall University.
Goodness.
Michael, that's your guy, huh? Why
Get
you
her
love him so
done.
much, Ed?
Sunbelt Player of the Year, 17 sacks.
Yeah, he was badass. He kept putting a lot of people on their back, and he was double teamed at times. They were chipping him with fullbacks and H-backs and tight ends the whole time, and he still got those sacks. So hats off to him. I hope that he joins the Commanders. And looks like y'all have a little resurgence there, Ed.
We picked up several defensive linemen in free agency, which will help us with depth, but nobody that we signed is a dog, and Dante Fowler went back to Dallas.
There you go.
Jason with the Atlanta Falcons. Who do you want, Jason? Who do you like? Who's your guy?
Well, he mentioned Michael Green, which I've seen some projections. Listen, if Michael Green is available with the Commanders pick, then
by the way, really quick to interrupt you. Right now, on two of the mocks that I'm looking at, Michael Green is projected to go to the Atlanta Falcons, by the way.
I have seen those too. That's why I was going to say, if Michael Green is still available at 29, I have a lot of questions for a lot of GMs in the NFL. I really do, because like you guys sold it right there. 17 sacks in a season. I don't care if it's Sunbelt, SEC, Big Ten, or even NAIA. 17 sacks is a hell of an accomplishment for a season, no matter what style of play. So we know this guy can get off a jump. He can shed blocks, and if he is coached, there's raw talent there that can be coached at a professional level. So yes, I've seen the Atlanta Falcons, and the thing about it is, it's like, okay, you did get Michael Penix, you got your quarterback of the future.
Absolutely, I like Mike Penix. I do.
Even after going out spending $140 million on Kirk Cousins, whatever the hell that was,
didn't understand it.
I mean, I guess you pay $140 million to rent a Ferrari. Rent a Ferrari that's broken down. I don't know what it is.
No,
I mean,
that was a Honda Accord.
Not even an Acura. I mean, some of those Acuras, I mean, they're tough. Some of them are
tough.
All you call it then is a rebadged Honda.
Maybe a gently used Lexus.
No.
So, what's the big? I gotta ask everybody this. What's the biggest social climber? Somebody that would be buy a rebadged Camry, which is an ES330 Lexus, or somebody would buy a BMW with an automatic transmission?
Tough call, Dr. Ball. That
depends on the price.
Yeah. What's the cost?
I was going to say, do you have a Kelly Blue Book handy on you right there?
Oh yeah. But then,
so
that's what they look
Jason,
like.
You want Mike Green? That's your guy. If Mike Green's not there, you got a backup.
Well, the thing about it is like, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot. Like, if you're looking for something in the trenches, this is your draft to do it. the thing about it is, and yes, I would like Michael Green. There's a couple of other edge rushers that I would probably like as well. I'm imagining that's probably what the Falcons are going to do because they need edge rushers because they just lost Grady Jarrett, who was on the Super Bowl team back in the day. He's gone now. He was like the face of Atlanta. He was from the Atlanta metro area. Now he's gone. And their record of picking edge rushers and offensive linemen, well, I'm trying to think of the nicest way to say this, but it's been straight up ass cheeks.
But I gotta throw this out there. I mean, going offensive line, not the worst idea. One, you got a fairly young quarterback. Number two, you have this pretty good running back, I think, in Atlanta. Do you not?
Yes, B. John Robinson. But again, it comes down to this. Logically, Sean, you are correct. Picking an offensive lineman or an edge rusher would be probably the best route to go. But the thing about it is, like, if you look at the last couple of offensive linemen and even edge rushers that the Falcons have drafted, do anybody even remember their names? Tack McKinley, he had a good 1-2 years, fizzled out. Vic Beasley had a lot of hype coming in, but he never really materialized. He couldn't get to the quarterback.
Jason, remember who you're talking to here, sir. Remember who you're talking to here. We spent a top 5 pick on Cleveland Farrell, so I don't want to hear. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, when you're telling me about bad draft picks, you know, we can play that game all night as a Raider fan. So,
well, this is BFS, Bad Falcon Syndrome. So I mean, so yes, offensive line, edge rusher, defensive line is probably the route that they're going to go, and I think that there are plenty of serviceable selections that you can't go wrong at number 15. My confidence that they would actually be able to pick one of them is not that.
I know that feeling.
Like Terry Fontenot as the GM, he's probably drafting for his job this next season because
so what's the philosophy? What is the philosophy of the Falcons? What is it that they do? What are they drafted for? What's their philosophy, Jason?
Well, I know that Dan Quinn hoarded defensive linemen like my grandmother hoarded shit when I was a kid. But rest in peace, Granny Dean. Rest in peace. Which I never understood when you, number one, needed offensive line because you had 3 of the offensive linemen that were in your Super Bowl roster that was able to protect Matt Ryan and give him an MVP season. One of them retired. 2 of them went off into free agency, and you couldn't fill the void. Jake Matthews there was a lot of hype that was under him. He is underwhelmed, greatly underwhelmed. And you look, they picked the guy out of Boston College in 2019. I know I was there live in Nashville when they did it, and I was excited. I was like, offensive lineman from Boston College. He should be good. He didn't turn out great. He didn't turn out great at all. So again, you ask me what the philosophy is. I don't know what it is. I don't know if many Atlanta Falcons fans know what it is. I don't even think Arthur Blank even knows what it is because his big thing was, hey, let's revamp and rebrand the uniforms and the logo. Like that was going to keep the crack bird, leave the crack bird alone, and go out and put a team back into the Super Bowl, which got me excited.
I got to disagree with it. Give me those the Grits Blitz Falcons jerseys. I like the Grits Blitz jerseys. You know,
the black ones and the black helmets. Those were the best
with
ever.
The red. They got to give the red on the helmet. You know,
right?
I mean, if they wanted to go back to the '90s style, I would not have any problem with that because
you're talking the Bad Moon Rising Falcons.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were dynamite.
They were clean. Yeah. They were clean, and an alternate red. Throw them in there.
And
Jason, the Cowboys went after damn food, Taco, Cheeto. We went
Taco
after
Charlton. Taco Charlton.
Taco
yeah, but we had a Cheeto too. The next year, his nickname was Cheeto.
Now it's funny that Jason brings up Boston College because that's actually who is projected. A Boston College player is projected to edge Washington Commanders. Boston College edge rusher Donovan Iziraku. I don't know if I gave that name all it's worth.
I've seen mocks where Atlanta takes him too. So,
but Izirioku is mocked to the Commanders. He's an edge. That's kind of who they're projecting for edge Commanders. For Nikki's Cowboys, I'll throw it out. Nikki, how do you like a wide receiver? Titaroa McMillan of Arizona is mocked to the Cowboys. Take a little load off of CeeDee Lamb.
What about Golden? I've been hearing Golden to Dallas too, from Texas.
Golden right now is mocked to the Cardinals.
Huh?
Matt Case.
I think Arizona's better.
yeah, it's not like Kyle Murray has enough
I
weapons.
think
with her.
Titaroa McMillan is the best wide receiver in this draft. I mean, rangy, he's got enough speed, great hands. I know he played at Arizona. People question that a little bit, but as far as physical intangibles, he's got everything you're looking for. Getting to my Raiders real quick. It looks like Jacksonville will snipe Ashton Jonty at 5, and that leaves the Raiders to taking, and I'm so happy to say this, Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan, and I hate giving Michigan any credit, but this kid is incredible. Had a spectacular game against the national champion Buckeyes in their win at the Horseshoe, and he's just a dog. Ed, tell us a little bit about Mason Graham.
Yeah, he's a tough one. But I would like to see y'all get Johnny, because I believe that Johnny, if Jacksonville takes Graham, because some of the talk on the radio down there when I was visiting recently was how much they needed defense. And there was a lot of talk about Mason Graham going to Jacksonville, which would leave Johnson to the Raiders. And I think it would unlock everything offensively for the Raiders, John.
It would definitely help with Geno Smith as quarterback to have a decent bell cow running back. I question our offensive line. And frankly, I'd rather see Jacksonville take Jonty and we go defense. And that would be a very Pete Carroll-like pick to take a defensive player at 6. We know the one thing that Pete Carroll can do, even at his age, is even when he was losing at Seattle the last few years before they got rid of him, it wasn't the defense that was the problem. They were holding teams to, in the NFL, if you can hold a team to 14, 17 points a game, you can usually win. The problem was Pete and the Seahawks were scoring 10 points a game because he didn't have a quarterback, didn't have much of an offense. So, and to not be embarrassed, I'd be okay. If the Raiders keep losing, but we're building talent and we get a Mason Graham, we get a good defensive player, in that regard. But if we get Jonty, I'm not going to be upset. He's certainly dynamic. He almost helped Boise State come back and beat Penn State. They were close there for a minute. But, this is one of the few times where, as a Raider fan, we can't screw this up, because I don't think we're going to draft the fastest player in the draft for once in my life, which has been a lot of times where we fell in love with whoever the receiver or defensive back who ran the fastest 40 at the combine was like, oh, that guy's going to the Raiders. I don't think that's going to happen this year. If it does, then, that would be bad.
Can you guys hear me better?
Yes,
Yeah,
I can.
We hear you.
My microphone's messed up. But I have a question.
But I'm gonna punt this football back to Jason. I think we've covered the draft. You wanted to get to wrestling.
I just have one question for you. You guys, to the Raiders, do you guys take a quarterback in this draft?
No, we signed Geno Smith to a 2-year deal. We're not taking
you need someone else. Who else do you guys have?
Oh, we'll take a quarterback in like the 4th or 5th round.
That's what I'm saying. You think you're going to
who that guy is? I have no idea, but I mean, I would be unless Shador falls and they just love him, which I haven't heard anything of that nature. I would be very surprised if we take a quarterback, considering we just gave Geno Smith $84 million. So
damn.
yeah. And Pete loves Geno. That's his guy. And I'm fine with that. I really personally I don't love any of the quarterbacks in this draft. I'd rather wait a few years and build the rest of the roster, but
they could draft Shane Falco from Ohio State and the Washington Sentinel, probably. I mean, he was serviceable in the replacements.
Well, no, that's what the Cowboys are going after.
Well,
no, Pete's going to draft.
I did hear Johnny Manziel is thinking about making a comeback. So,
then Jerry will give him a 15th chance. We know how Jerry is.
Well, before to put a bow on the NFL draft, Dr. Balls brought it up earlier. It's something I kind of wanted to take a little bit of just a tad, not really a deep dive, but kind of maybe get the torso into the water when it comes to this, because they talk about the Super Bowl and how you saw for the last couple of years the Kansas City Chiefs and the offense just running roughshod, and now it looked like the defenses were now like putting a stranglehold on them. It almost makes me think that we never think about it, but we're like we witness the constant evolution of the game of football. Because think about this, for example, remember the Tampa 2 defense at one point seemed like it was just an unbreakable style of defense back in the day. And now the way that the offenses have now evolved, it's almost kind of made a Tampa 2 almost obsolete. So it's where the defenses eventually evolve to slow down the offenses that evolve, and it's just like a totally vicious cycle. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit more, like Dr. Ball said, and not only in the NFL but in college football, to where now the defenses are starting to evolve to a point to where now they've caught up to these high-powered offenses, and in a couple of years, we're going to see a much more innovative. Because you look at how offenses have evolved, from laterals to rugby style to the forward pass to the wishbone to the triple option to the fun and gun of Steve Spurrier, which God bless, that was a great time.
That was a great era
football to watch. And then you have the hurry up no huddles. You have Gus Malzahn's box of gimmicks. Like the offenses eventually have evolved, and I think what you're seeing now is the defenses are catching up to the point where eventually the offenses are going to have to grow a little bit, and there's going to be a little bit of growing pains.
Well, what's come back around on the college side is that in the late 80s and early 90s, Miami discovered that if you had speed at linebacker and you had discipline at linebacker and you kept them outside to actually see the play develop, and they had discipline, that the option was over, that they could stop the option whenever they wanted. And everybody went, but now we've got a new option, the read option. So now the linebackers have to be even more disciplined, and now I think some of them are doing it. And that's the reason you have so much emphasis on it, or so-called edge rushers instead of just being defensive ends, is they want people that can get up field so that they can interrupt the timing of the read pass option. So now the RPO is going to have to either evolve or become something else.
Well, I mean, they always said that you won championships with the defense. That was the 90s style football. We're coming back to that.
I agree with you. So I think that's the mechanism that teams are using in order to evolve the defenses. They want edge rushers that can get upfield quickly, even if they don't get a sack. If they've got their hands up in the air, if they can keep a running quarterback that's explosive, like Mahomes, in the pocket, or dictate which direction he heads to. That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to accomplish, and that's the answer. So what's the next question is what's going to be the answer to that? So under the spread and also with the run pass option, you have formations where you're trying to spread the field out, and you're trying to pick and choose spots where an individual may be open enough for a big play or a first down. Well, we may go back to where formations are tighter and more clustered with more tight ends, and you're trying to leak one guy out deep, right? And to break away from the cluster of guys that are in the middle. So I'm with you, Jason. I'm excited to see what it's going to be. But I think it may be something where, just like fashion, it may return what's old as new.
Yeah, I mean, it's always getting those, particularly at the NFL level, because they're all NFL players. You're looking for those individual mismatches with size, whether it's speed or whether it's physicality, and the to Jason's, the zenith of it was, with that Tampa 2 was Lovie Smith getting the Bears the Super Bowl and then running into Peyton Manning and the Colts, who unfortunately had Lovie's mentor as their head coach in Tony Dungy, who knew how to beat the Tampa 2. And then he had a quarterback who certainly could do it in Peyton Manning. And, the other thing that evolves and adapts is the safety of the game, the rules of the game. Some of those great defenses that we've seen in the past, you really can't do that anymore. That 2000 Baltimore Ravens, even the 03 Bucks would have a hard time in today's NFL. But to Dr. Ball's point, I mean, you're just trying to find the players that can create these mismatches. I think it never hurts to, at least the one phase that really hasn't changed. Having a dominant offensive line plays in any era, I think. That's the one thing I can speak to, from Lombardi's Packers to even this year's Eagles, is having a great offensive line. That's the one thing that is, span the test of time in football.
I agree.
All right, so
Max Montoya and Dermontti Dawson were as people like to like is, but they were as important as any quarterbacks of their era, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
So
the linemen don't get the offensive linemen never get enough love, but they should, because the Great Wall of Dallas helped Emmitt Smith get 18,000 rushing yards. Joe Montana's offensive lineman protected him to get 4 Super Bowls. Tom Brady's offensive lineman. The offensive line to me is the alpha and the omega of a football team. If you have a great offensive line, you're probably going to be in most games. If you don't have a good offensive line, you're probably going to get beat pretty bad. And that's.
You could say it. You could say it's still one of the most primal positions of the game.
Yeah, that's the real arms race.
It's also a thinking man. It's a thinking man's position as well, because you have to know. You got to be physical, certainly, as an offensive lineman. But you need to know those assignments, especially as you go up at levels. College football. Big Ten, SEC, NFL. You need to be. When the quarterback makes that shift, if you're gonna block here, you're gonna block there. You gotta know it. And so the offensive linemen, even though they always, John Madden and Keith Jackson, they're big uglies, whatever. They're thinking men too. They need to know where they have to go, what their assignment is, whether it's a run play or a pass play. So, don't think they're just dumb big guys. They're very smart. Usually the smartest is the center. Jeff Saturday is one of the greatest to do it, but there's been a ton of other great centers. But the O linemen need to get the love just as much as anybody else, because they really contribute to a championship. We saw it this year, and the other news we saw as of late, the brotherly shove, the tush push, going nowhere, folks. So if you don't like it, continue to lump it, but it's going to be around. The NFL did not ban it this offseason.
I don't know. I like it because it's the team, right? So now, instead of becoming a one-on-one battle, football's a team sport. So now the team is trying to overwhelm the other team and get the guy where he's going. Now, I hope nobody gets hurt out of it, but to me, I kind of like it.
I was going to say,
that's why the Cowboys have to take Deshaun Watson from Florida, the biggest dude. I'll take him as put him in front of someone trying to do a tush push and see what happens.
Do a little William Refrigerator Perry.
I mean, there's no getting past that 436 pounds.
I would say if you're a running back and you're going to be on a team that's going to do the tush push, the brotherly shove, get your lumbar stretched. Stretch that lumbar really, really good, my friend, because you're going to be bent like a contortionist.
One of these coaches has to take what Leach was trying to do and get them a smaller player. The Cowboys could do it with Deuce. We could toss
that's what I
him.
was
He's
thinking,
that
Nikki.
small. He's
That's
that
exactly what I was
small.
all about, Nick. Is that they need to do Mike Lynch's concept to your point, to your post, and throw a little guy over the line, maybe even a midget, right? And just take the guy, pick him up, and sling him across. If Lawrence Taylor was headhunting this whole play and he had read it just right, and you tried to sling some little 100-pound guy over the line, and he was smack.
See, we could do it with Deuce. Deuce is like 5'5", 5'6". He's not that small, but he's light. We could just toss him.
That almost just like seems like a scene out of Austin Powers when somebody throwing mini-me across the room.
And you know what? That's probably where Mike Leach got the idea from.
You know, it's funny that Bob mentioned that, you know, a little person, we're going to be correct here, but that's like when, I think it was the Pittsburgh Pirates many years ago, found a little person to be a batter, gave him the jersey like with a /2. That was his jersey number 1.5.
Isn't it like Eddie Gadel?
Yeah.
St. Louis Browns, I think it was. Yeah,
it is. You know, his strike zone was like 6 inches or whatever it was.
He got on base every time.
I mean, I'm more prone to your point, Nikki, of getting that kid from Florida who's just an absolute load as
And
your
he's an
nose
athlete.
tackle, you know, and maybe getting one other one on the strong side, another kid maybe that size to shut down the brotherly shove. But, you know, it's old school football. It's low man wins, physicality on physicality. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I think he will do. I think he would, and that's why I want, not just because I love him. He's been one of my favorite Gators, but I would love for the Cowboys to have him because of playing the Eagles and the tush push. They're the ones that use it the most, and I want to shut them down.
Yeah.
All right, since
So-
we're on the we're on the hour front of this. You got one more thing, Dr. Balls, or we want to get into the college football storylines for 2020?
We can do college football storylines, or you was talking wrestling. Roll with it, Jason.
All right, well, let's go. Well, they kind of intertwine because we're just past WrestleMania weekend, where John Cena made history in winning the 17th world title. So it made me think about, like, so you have pro wrestling storylines like the Bloodline, the old NWO, Four Horsemen, Generation X. I can go on. But going into the 2025 season, the thing that's intriguing to me the most heading into the season is I feel now I could say that Nico Iamaleava kind of was the salvo that fired all this, but I'm not going to go that far. But if you look at the quarterback room of the SEC, I think that there is the potential for a seismic shift in this conference based on what the quarterback room is. For example, like we all know that Arch Manning, Texas, they've got dudes, they're going to be in the running. But for Georgia, how much faith do you have in Gunnar Stockton? I know they brought in Zachariah Branch in from the transfer portal to finally get him some wide receiver. But if Gunnar Stockton doesn't work out, how far does Georgia drop? Does DJ Lagway, once he gets through his injury and he plays through and he lives up to the hype, how much does that elevate Florida? LSU, Garrett Nussmeier. You look at all the guys that they're bringing in from the recruiting class to the portal. I see a lot of potential with LSU making a run for the SEC this year based on that. Alabama's quarterback room. We're not 100% sure, even though Ryan Grubbs has given the vote of confidence for Ty Simpson right out of the beginning. Ty Simpson, I'm on a wait and see approach with him. I love the potential of Keelan Russell. I think Austin Mack is in the middle between a rock and a hard place, and Alabama successfully was able to keep all of these guys, keeping Austin Mack from going into the portal. But if Ty Simpson goes out like 2020 Mac Jones, where does that put Alabama? Then Oklahoma, who have one of the worst offenses last season, not only in the SEC but in college football, they go out and get John Mateer, which brings potential to the quarterback position, but they also have a very psychotic schedule. With Auburn, is it Jackson Arnold? Is it Deuce Knight? I think that there's just so many variables that I think that one domino falls and another one falls here, that there could be a seismic shift in the landscape of the SEC conference, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing this year.
Oh, me too.
Now,
I'm
is that
actually
based on?
liking Ty Simpson. I like him at Bama. I don't know. There's something about the kid. I have a lot of faith in him. I like Gunnar Stockton as a different
yikes.
type, but
Yikes.
I like him as their quarterback. I mean, I like it being a Gator fan because I think we
I
have a
would say
better
from a Gator
chance.
standpoint, you love it. Yeah, I mean,
But as
don't check your blind side, and next thing
no,
you know,
but
the
what I'm
game's
saying
over.
is I like him as a person. I think he is different than what we're seeing today in college football. The big profile, driving Lamborghinis. He's about very humble, down to earth guy.
Well,
I think most of them are. I don't. Most of these quarterbacks seem. I mean, on all we know, they're
But
they're
the
good
truth
people.
is like coming out on back, like
But
his ex that
fans
broke
don't
up
care
with
about
him.
if they walk, the old lady across the street, get to the library and read to children who can't read. The ultimate goal is to win games, win football games.
It
And
is,
as
but
soon
I
as they
really
stop
think a
doing
lot of that ego gets in their head and it brings toxicity into the locker room. We just seen that with
I think Arch Manning is one of the most heavily compensated quarterbacks in college
And he-
football with NIL, and I don't think he has a big head.
he doesn't, but he also came from money, so it's a little different on that
But
aspect.
DJ Lagway is making good money at Florida, and I think he's a good kid. I think he's a great kid.
I do too. He's a very good kid. He's donating most of it back into the programs, which
He's
is awesome.
helping his teammates out as well. It's
I just
as
the
fans,
toxicity that we've seen.
as
We've seen
SEC
it with
fans
Tennessee.
are. We know in the fall it's all about wins and losses. I don't care if you're a straight A student and if you're the greatest kid on campus. If you don't win games,
my point is
the
that
fans are going to get upset.
We
Like
heard
last
that
fall, Jalen Milrose, one of the nicest guys in the world, if you ask anybody, but he didn't win enough games last year.
But my whole point with that is the toxicity that it brings into these locker rooms. We've heard what Beck did at Georgia.
And he's
We're
having
hearing-
trouble right now at Miami, apparently.
Exactly. He's still having that issue with he thinks he's larger than life. We're hearing the players come out now about Nico with that same mentality.
Yeah.
In this day and age in football, we know we're going to see it because of these guys are handed millions of dollars. They think they're larger than life. So when you get those few out there that actually look and act like normal human beings again, that bleed their team colors, it's just awesome to see.
I would disagree with you with using the word few. I think more are along the lines of being good teammates, good students, good citizens, versus those few that are the few bad apples in the bunch.
Ooh.
Well,
I like Lagway because that's the reason I like Lagway is I feel like Lagway's a guy that can rally a team, right? And guys will believe and they'll want to win with him. So,
And I think that's because he bleeds the orange and blue, the same as Gunnar Stockton. He
I like
bleeds red and
Nussmeier.
black.
I think Nussmeier's a good kid. I think he's a good kid.
I think he is. I do. And I feel bad because I feel like we're going to just sack him 10 more times this year. So,
I will say
someone's got her britches feeling really swole after a Gasparilla Bowl win over Tulane.
No, you know what? We did it this season against Noose. I like the kid. I like this dad. As
Another
a
loss
Florida
coming
coach,
to the Canes real soon, Nikki. Another loss
but
coming to the Canes.
I will say this.
no. But you'll be proud. I did buy a Miami shirt. It does have number 66 on the back for my Max Buchanan.
I mean, you had
I
to
got a
after all the
keyboard.
smack you taught. There's no way the Canes are coming into the swamp and leaving with a W. And I think they won by 3 touchdowns last
They
night.
did. They did.
I will say this one quarterback that I forgot to mention also that I see a lot of potential in is actually Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. I think like that's an offense. I think that fit Lane Kiffin's offense is the type of offense that fits him, and I think that there could be a lot of potential there. Not saying that Ole Miss is going to be an SEC champion, but I think that there's going to they could put them into contention. And also too, you talk about like the toxicity and everything like that, and it just the sidetrack here. I remember seeing a post on one of the Facebook groups that talked about like Georgia was the national champion in drag racing. I was like, well, wouldn't you be a national champion if you didn't get caught?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
they got caught. They get how do they
We
win a
just
national
needed
champion if they get caught?
We just seen
My-
it in basketball where
my
freaking
my
Bruce
biggest
Pearl
question
had to
right now-
turn a plane around.
is at 3 places. Texas A&M, Mizzou, and Kentucky. What are they doing at quarterback? And should we have any faith or hope?
Well, now Missouri does have the backup quarterback from Penn State of Bo Pribula.
Yeah.
Now, again, it comes down to this. Missouri has had some serviceable quarterbacks in the past. Eli Drinkowitz has been able to do something with him. The question is, how much? With Texas A&M, Mike Elko, it's most likely going to be Marcel Reed. Can he get to that level? I'm on a wait-and-see approach with him as well.
And then Kentucky. Bob, what's going on in Kentucky with your quarterback?
Well, they brought in another portal quarterback, and I really don't know a lot about him. And the spring game didn't show you a whole lot because it wasn't a true spring game. But people were disappointed as fans because we believe we have our own homegrown guy, Cutter Bowley, and everybody wants to see him. And basically, people are tired of Stoops bringing in losers and failures like Will Levis, and that's the quarterback. And they should be developing their own guys.
Will Levis. Hold on, I'll give you the list. Will Levis, which I mean, he wasn't terrible. Devin Leary.
No, he was.
Devin Leary was disappointing, and then Brock Vandegrift, very disappointing.
Very disappointing. But Will Levis, we knew that he wasn't any good, and we were shocked when the Titans drafted him so high. Actually, most Kentucky fans knew that he was an interception machine and didn't make reads. I mean, it was obvious, and it was just unbelievable to me how high he went with Tennessee and how much they put on him. But he had a great arm.
That's why.
Yeah, he has
I know how to
strong
run a
arm.
great gun.
Bob is still waiting for the next reincarnation of the Pillsbury Throwboy, our guy.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd love to see that. I'd love to see a guy that played with the passion that guy played with and had an arm like that. I mean, my God, that was unbelievable.
Hefty lefty.
The hefty lefty. It was sad what happened with him, but yes, we did love the hefty lefty. And if a guy like that came up, and I'd certainly love to see him in Kentucky. The guy had one of the greatest arms I ever seen, pro or college. I mean, he could throw. They said he could throw 80 yards from his knees.
Can I mention a quarterback no one's talked about yet?
Let's hear it.
How do we think? And granted, maybe the pieces around it, but maybe he makes the next step this fall. What about Lenora Sellers, guys? Tell me about Lenora
I was
Sellers.
going to bring him up.
South Carolina?
I like him. I like you.
I
People
think
are
this
high on
kid,
him.
if he makes the next step, could be sneaky good. Really, really good.
Yep.
Well, and also for the fact that Nick Harbor is foregoing track and focusing 100% on football, that could give him another target as well, because he came in as a 5-star recruit with a lot of hype and anticipation coming in that has not really worked out. But if one thing for Lenore Sellers to really take off, Nick Harbor has got to do what Kyle Pitts can't do for the Atlanta Falcons, and that is get open and get a target.
Hey, he got a couple touchdowns last year. Lay off our guy, Pitts. Come on.
Well,
y'all can give him that.
I know for a first-round pick, he hasn't proven himself as to what Falcon fans want, but last year I thought he played a little better.
Well,
and I think this year, finally having a good quarterback, give Pitts one more year. Give him one more year.
When you haven't experienced 5 years of people sliding in your DMs going, what the fuck? I picked this guy on my fantasy team. What is wrong with him? And
everybody's a fantasy GM.
know.
But I also believe the Falcons have not used Kyle Pitts 100% the correct way.
I agree.
I agree. Put him with and I think him and Michael Penix honestly will meet up a lot more than what he has with anyone else.
Jason, not everybody can have Brock Bowers, all right?
So. You smell what the Brock is cooking?
I would love to, but I got Geno Smith trying to cook him a meal, so God bless him. We'll see. But I think Lenore Sellers is in for a dynamite year. He might even, I would proffer to say he might be even in, maybe halfway into the year, SEC Player of the Year conversation. I think he's going to have a great year. I hope he has a great year. And as to Nikki's point, I think he's a great young man. I think he's a good leader of that club. I don't know what kind of talent all across the board they'll have. So, we talk about this thing, he's not, they don't have the win, the record wins and losses. But if he plays really well, if he plays the way he did on the road, I know they lost at Alabama last year, but he played a hell of a game on the road in Tuscaloosa, and that's one of the toughest places to play in college football.
And I think we're seeing what Beamer ball can turn into. South Carolina, we are seeing glimpses of it each year that he brings in the right players, the right core players, the right offensive players, defensive player. He's building he's going in the right direction.
I heard a crazy rumor that Beamer should be on the hot seat. And I said that would be the dumbest thing that South Carolina could ever do is fire Beamer. I think he's doing a good job there.
Not after a 9-4 season with that psychotic schedule. No.
Yeah, no.
They, it was right. They lost to Illinois in the bowl game. And people are hot. It's.
Where did you hear? Well, I was going to say, where did you hear that rumor from? Michael
there's a few places. The internet is a dark place.
That
You
interweb.
couldn't go there. But I think Beamer's doing a great job at South Carolina. I think they should eke him to a long-term deal. I think he's doing well there, getting talent, finding talent, and if Sellers has a good year, don't sleep on the Gamecocks.
Why get rid of a coach that is taking them in the right direction? Each year they're getting better and better. He's bringing in better talent.
We live in a fast food society where everyone expects immediate, instant gratification, and it takes time to build a team, build a roster.
And one of the greatest said it. One of the greatest, as in Lou Holt said, you can't give a coach 5 to 6 years to build his program. You're setting your program back 10 years.
You're absolutely right. I agree.
At BK, have it your way. You rule.
And it's happened to Florida. We've watched it over and over going through coaches. It just kept setting us back.
Now, Bruce Martinez says that he thinks we're underestimating Bama, that DeBoer's Brayshaw is back. I guess that's Grubb. And they're a dangerous pair, but they'll stretch the field, and the running back will be really important. Oh, and he likes my haircut. So
I don't know
I
if
was
it's
going to tell you that earlier.
by the way, we call you
Dr.
call you-
Balls with a great haircut. Balls is looking sharp. He's looking snazzy.
I know.
we could call him
I
Doctor.
meant to say it earlier.
We could call him
Sharp dressed man over here. Looking
I was going to say we could call him Dr. Shade Ball now.
I 100% agree with Bruce. Him bringing Grubbs in.
Yeah,
People are still laughing at Bama, thinking that
I think it's funny. I think it's funny if anybody were to think you could laugh at Alabama. Alabama's Alabama.
Yeah.
They have a ton of talent on that roster. They're not going anywhere. They lost a couple of games last year, but that was DeBoer's first year in the SEC, and he's learned every place he's been at. And usually it's his second year, sometimes his third year at a program. But he usually figures it out, and then he wins like a lot, which he did at Washington.
I mean, he was his first year in Saban's shadow, dealing with all of
that
and
can't
he
be
was
easy. The
still
shadow of the
able
GOAT,
to
Nick
push,
Saban. You know,
make a push for the playoffs. Like he was still in that spot to make a push.
No, I think Alabama's going to have a dynamite year. I would be.
I do too.
I would be very scared if you have Alabama on the schedule.
And I don't
Thank
know.
God we don't.
I don't know if it's really like underestimating, but I think it's almost kind of a wait and see approach because we almost saw kind of Jalen Milroe hitting that ceiling to where he was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Mr. Hyde, and we're sitting here going over and looking at Ty Simpson and going, is he better? Could he be better when he hadn't got there in 2 years that Jalen Milroe was there, where it seemed that he still had a lot of athletic potential, but was also making the same mistakes. And that's kind of where I was with Ty Simpson. It's like this guy had 2 years to get past Jalen Milroe, and he hasn't. That kind of raises a little bit of a red flag to me. But to Bruce's point,
NFL, I think Milroe is the better total physical aspect, but maybe Simpson's just a better quarterback, more cerebral quarterback, but doesn't have the physical intangibles that Milroe had. And again, that was their first year as a coaching staff.
And he's being loyal to it.
But of course. But
and also, what's a great get out of jail free card? Having Ryan Williams at wide receiver, who is undoubted, other than the kid at Ohio State, Williams is dynamic. I think he was great as a freshman. Watch him this year. Watch how great he'll be this year.
And I think that and also to Bruce's point in the chat, is that there's a big difference between Ryan Grubbs and Nick Sheridan.
Yep.
Nick Sheridan was the offensive coordinator last year. Ryan Grubbs is finally coming in, because I even said when Ryan Grubbs was supposed to be the offensive coordinator in that first season, and they had Julian Sayin coming in, or they were going to have him coming in, that if Julian Sayin was going to be the future under Ryan Grubbs, Alabama's offense was going to absolutely sodomize defenses all around the SEC and all around the country. They were going to do things that were illegal in 13 states to defenses all around the country. But
only 13?
Only 13. Most of them are in the South. But
no, I think Alabama's going to have a comeback year this year, and they're going to be, just gangbusters. And I'd watch out for the Tide big time.
I think the SEC this year, we are going to see a lot of different teams vying.
And the team I think is going to really, really blossom this year. I know, and everybody's been down on them, but I got a sneaky way too early. I know we're in April. We haven't got to media days and August. But I like Oklahoma this year. I don't know why, but I think a lot of
they've got a very psychotic schedule.
I know the schedule's daunting. The schedule's very daunting. But, man, if that defense plays the way it did last year and they get just a little bit more out of the offense, they're going to be in every game, right? I mean, come on,
Which it comes down to, like, my whole thing about if you look at the quarterback rooms of the SEC. Like, there could be a win here, an upset here, an upset here, and an upset here. And it could just change the entire dynamic of the conference.
Do we think the SEC cannibalizes itself again this year, possibly?
I think so. I think so. I think it's possible.
Definitely.
When you look at the schedule, we can throw up Florida's, and you want to talk about a crazy ass schedule. Even our ALA conference, we got Miami and USF, which USF always plays tough against. I mean, look what they did to Bama. They always show up. And then you got Miami, which we know what Mario's building down there. These schedules are intense. We have 1 week that's Long Island University. I have no clue. I didn't even know they had a team. in Long Island, but
They play football in Long Island.
I know they have a decent.
I knew about the
baseball team.
Islanders hockey, but yeah.
Yeah, like I knew they had a decent baseball team. I didn't even know they had a football team at the school. But
Wow.
we needed that because shit, when you look at the rest of that damn schedule, it's scary. We went through it last year, the same teams.
Yeah, I think
It's going to be fierce. And then you look, the only team that really has a lighter schedule is Texas again. But they're still going to be playing the best of the best in the SEC.
I
So you
think
can't really even
Kentucky's
say it's a
schedule.
cupcake schedule.
I see Kentucky's schedule, and I think we're going 3-9. To be honest with you,
Is
I
that
don't
being
think we're going to
generous?
stick.
Is that being generous?
No, I'm not being humorous. Here's why: because the way the games line out, but Stoops has already proved that he can't have a team ready quickly early in the season, and in the old schedule, he could schedule the cupcakes in such an order that he could have the team ready by the third or fourth game, and then he played Florida. But now it's a whole different animal. We're playing an SEC game, the second game of the season, so they'll probably be 1-1 on week 2, and then another SEC game week 3. So they'll probably be 1-2 on week 3, and then I think they got a cupcake, and then so they'll be at that point they'll be 2-3, and then they'll lose every game probably the rest of the season and get lucky and maybe win one. And I don't think they'll beat Louisville, but I think Louisville is going to be consistent and be good. So a team like Kentucky, even Vanderbilt will probably be better than Kentucky. They can't count on that game.
Go Diego, go.
Go
And
Diego, go.
we think right now it's crazy when they're already talking about it being a non-SEC schedule next year.
So, my question is a two-part question. I'll throw it out as a non. I don't have a dog in the fight per se. One, do we think the SEC stays at 16 universities for the time being? That's part one. Part two, if the answer is yes to that, do we see the SEC, because 16 is a nice number, do we see them go to a 4x4, a 4-pod system and kind of helping the schedule out a little bit here and not making it quite such a murderer's row for certain teams and not so much, looking at you, Texas, last year for others, those are my questions, gang. I'll let you guys pontificate.
I hate 16. I hate it. I think it's too big. Because
but it's not, Jason,
I understand.
You never go backwards. You never go backwards.
I don't mind
You're
16.
Right. And you're right.
I don't.
Me personally, I hate it. I understand that, you do what's best for business. I understand it. I don't like it, but I understand it. But what the SEC, the ACC has gotten themselves in is for the fact that if they would have kept divisions, they probably wouldn't have been in the pickle that they could possibly put themselves into, kind of like what the ACC was last season. When they eliminated...
for our listeners, you, me, Dr. Balls, Nikki, and Doug, and Ed, who I think went to sleep, can go all the way back to, we remember the SEC before Arkansas and South Carolina.
Right.
Yes.
So let's put that on the table, so we our listeners know that. But, Arkansas and South Carolina, say what you will about their programs other than football, but I don't think either one of them has won an SEC championship in football since they've joined. Am I correct in that?
Arkansas did.
No, I don't think Arkansas. They
bumbled and stumbled in the way. Never mind.
They've been to a
played
game.
the SEC championship.
They went to the championship game. They
And Sterner bubbled and stumbled the game away.
Yeah.
Now I remember.
I don't think it's a bad thing to have Texas and Oklahoma because they are powers in football.
And other sports.
Certainly, obviously, the SEC is dominant in every sport. We could talk about. I mean, congratulations to the Oklahoma women's gymnastics team who just won another national championship. on that, and the SEC
Then you
is.
got Texas sitting at 1 in baseball, Texas sitting at 1 in softball.
Yeah, I mean, but we all know the king in the the elephant in the room is football. I mean,
I like the 16 teams.
But to a guy like Dr. Balls' point, his Kentucky Wildcat, they're going to struggle to get to a bowl game here.
Yeah.
So do we need to do something with scheduling, or with divisions, or pods, or something here?
What's coming out is it's going to be a 9 teams. We play 9 SEC teams. They're going up to 9. You have 3.
Well, I don't know that they've officially said that.
No, they haven't. That's what they're discussing.
I'm going to go to what I'm just going to go with what Doug has said before, and it is when Mickey Mouse scratches the check and hands it to Greg Sankey and says, "Do it," that's when it's going to happen.
But my thing on that is we have 3 permanent
teams. Greg Sankey, of course, yes.
You have 3 permanent teams. Your 3 big rivals in the SEC will play each other every year. And then the other ones are rotated. Now, we've seen it when it was East and West. East and West, they rotated certain teams, except for like Florida had LSU every year.
But that didn't work because like Texas A&M barely played Georgia ever, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it would have stayed, they would have gotten that chance. They were just a latecomer coming into the SEC.
I'm looking at this from the fans' perspective. Like if you're buying, and these prices are only going up, regardless of where you get. Even Vanderbilt, ticket prices are going up. You want to see every SEC opponent at least once, if not twice, in a 4-year period in your stadium. I mean, the fans make the game. These kids wouldn't be getting these NIL dollars without us.
And I don't think we're ever going to see that again.
And
I don't think we will.
I
think what we're going to see is that the ACC and these conferences decided we're going to expand because it's going to end up being super conferences. We're going to get ahead of it.
Jason's got a point. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I'm just going to be the old man yelling, "Get off my lawn" in the yard again.
You want to be Grandpa Simpson?
Yes. I'll be Grandpa in this scenario. Again, the whole expansion thing was not to better the conference, to make it more competitive. It was all about TV contracts. That's all it was about, because Texas was not getting enough money in the Big 12, even though they were getting the most money in the Big 12. Oklahoma wasn't getting their pie, which was why Texas A&M left back in 2012. And now the Big 12, the well has dried up for them, and they're like, "Oh, I can go to the SEC and get a bigger share of the pie."
Jason, can I make a real quick joke?
Go ahead.
Should the SEC teams also? I know they have the SEC patch on their jerseys. Also have an ESPN patch, and then the Big 10 teams have a Fox patch on their jersey. I mean, because that's what it sounds like you're saying.
Might as well just turn the jersey into a NASCAR or a soccer kid, because they have sponsorships on the middle of those too. I mean,
because the schism seems to be SEC, ACC in ESPN territory, and then Big 12, Big 10 in Fox territory. Is that what I'm hearing?
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Am I close at least? Am I?
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But allow a man. Now I go from grumpy old man.
Please go ahead.
Man who can dream. What I would love to see, and I think it would spice things up. I know it's not going to happen. So anybody who's out there is like, you're living in a fantasy world. This is never going to happen. Yes, I know it's not going to happen. But as much of a Premier League soccer fan that I am.
Oh, I am too. Hey, go Liverpool. Let's go. Champions this year.
Come on, you Spurs. But anyways.
Sorry, Tottenham.
But what I would love to see is some kind of some alliances between Group of 5 and the big conferences, and let's have relegation in college football, where the worst of the SEC would have to go down to the Sun Belt, and whoever wins the Sun Belt goes to the SEC.
Why not?
I would love it. I would love it.
Made a
would
lot of
lose
people
Vandy.
mad in your hometown in Nashville because you know Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that-
you're gonna lose Vandy.
Well, the
You're gonna
entire
lose
conference. Well, the entire conference is going to be pissed because the GPA is going to go down.
It never worked because Kentucky's one of the founding members of the conference, and they're a cash cow for all the different TV networks we just talked about, plus CBS during basketball season. So it ain't gonna happen.
Well, I don't think he means for every. I think it just means for football. Is that what you're saying?
Let's
Jason?
just do it for football. Just do
Yeah,
it for
just
football.
because
Or
football
maybe they're like they have to play
Hold
one
on.
year in the Sun Belt. They don't have
Georgia-
to leave the SEC. They can just play one season in the Sun Belt because it's like, you know what, you messed up.
And say
Suck
they win
that.
say Vanderbilt wins the Sun Belt, they get to move up back up to the SEC, and whoever
Yeah.
is last
Has to go
goes down to you know that's how relegation works.
Think about this. is
That means Marshall could potentially be in the SEC.
Think about this though. As much as everybody outside of South Bend, Indiana, hates the fact that Notre Dame is not in a conference in football, but when it comes to basketball, they're in the ACC. So, I mean, if it's good for Notre Dame, it could be good for anybody else. And think about this: Georgia's women's soccer, they play in Conference USA because there's no SEC conference in soccer.
Florida plays in the Big 12.
Can I just make a quick edit? Can I just make a quick edit on that point?
Okay.
Your Sugar Bowl and Orange Bowl champion Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Just real
Okay,
quick.
okay. But again,
Or the
like,
most beautiful coach in college football.
and
I
again,
love Marcus Freeman in South Bend, Indiana. This guy's doing yeoman's work. He's doing yeoman's
I mean, it's
work. He's doing the
beautiful.
Lord's work.
if Notre Dame can
For
be
all
independent-
those women. Whew.
if Notre Dame can be independent in football and then play basketball in the ACC, then if Kentucky sucks and gets relegated down to the Sun Belt, they can still play basketball in the SEC.
Yeah, they're still playing basketball in the SEC. Yeah.
There you go.
I think
Bob.
it would
We're
be
not
fun.
taking your basketball away from you. We're just
Hey.
saying your football team wasn't very good that year.
Well, we're saying that
year,
we're saying that we've earned the doormat status, right? We've worked hard to be the doormat of the SEC.
Mr.
And,
Irrelevant. This is your
yeah,
pride for being Mr. Irrelevant in the SEC.
Which is Nikki very apropos talking it during draft week. Mr. Irrelevant. Love it. Which, by
Yes.
the way,
You mean,
Brock
think
Purdy
about
just
it.
showed
It'd
up
be-
at camp this week.
It'd be perfect. But I also think it would, we'll probably have another COVID year. We know how messed up our country is. So maybe that COVID year we do it.
If we have another, if we have another COVID year, and I'm working from home, my Twitch channel is going to start popping. I'm just going to
Hell
tell you.
yeah. We're going live every night of the week, guys, if we have another COVID year.
I'm going to do a show naked. I'm just going to let y'all know that right now.
But everyone was bored. Let's make it fun.
I just, but I mean, I find it, the reason I find it challenging.
Survivor.
Granted, let's put all our chips on the table here. The SEC with 16 teams, it's tough because it's the toughest conference in college football. We understand that. We know that. But if the Big Ten can make it work coast to coast with 18 teams, we got to be able to figure this out. And I'm a proponent of the 4x4, the 4 pods, and then you play one of the other pods and you rotate, and then you get all the teams within 4 years. I think that's the best plan right now.
And I thought that that's what they were going to do. And
I hope
we
they
didn't have
do it.
time to do it.
Always 9 games. And the other thing, Greg Sinky's talking about right now is getting the 4 teams, and I think the SEC should have 4 teams in the playoff. And they're, supposedly they got meetings coming up here where they're going to discuss that. But if we can get to some regularity here, that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. What was the song? I'm a king of wishful thinking. That's just what I'm thinking of right now.
That's not going to appease the Bama fans from last year who thought they belonged in and SMU didn't. But, don't lose the Vanderbilt. You know,
Yeah.
ever. Never
Well,
lose a game.
Oklahoma.
What you're talking about, we could call it like survival of the SEC. You know, you have survival the
Oh,
show. One
I
gets
think you're
voted
right.
off every week. We just
I
vote
think.
one off.
Well, Ed got voted off last week because he went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Did we ever get Ed back? Ed, are you back?
I'm here.
You're
He
here.
is here.
Ed's
Let's take that
been
off.
waiting patiently.
That's all.
Ed's been waiting patiently.
Well, I
gotta
appreciate
ask
you,
Ed.
Ed.
I like having a 9-team SEC schedule. I want to
I do
play
too.
the
I do too.
want to play the best. I have said it for years. I love right now how Florida has our ALA conference schedule is badass.
Nikki, you mentioned the COVID year. That was a 10-game SEC
Was it not
schedule.
badass?
It was awesome.
It was disastrous for Kentucky.
Yeah, where Alabama basically stomped a mud hole in everyone's ass that year. Yeah, it was a good year.
But Jason, wait. Time out though. How is that different from the inception
year.
of the SEC to now? Alabama has the most SEC championships, has the most national championships. That wasn't an aberration. That was just what regularly happens.
But that 2020 year though, I will say about a 2020
And that 2020 Alabama team was one of the greatest teams of all time.
Like if I died and gone to heaven, if it actually happened, if I died and gone to heaven, like what I would imagine heaven being like is me sitting on the 50-yard line as I'm watching the 2020 Alabama team take on 2001 Miami.
That'd be a good game.
That would be good.
Well, wait. I mean, okay. Before let's not get our britches too big. 2001 Miami had, I think, more NFL players than that 2020 Bama team. But
well, the offense against that defense.
The team that I would like to see, 2019 LSU against 2020 Alabama. I think.
See, that's where I thought you were going with it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing 2019 LSU against 2001 Miami.
That would also be a great. How about 2004 USC? We throw that in the mix.
I would
prefer just not to see LSU.
Hold on now. Is Coker going to be the coach of the Miami team?
Well, I mean, he was.
I think that's a hell of a disadvantage if you.
No.
Well, I mean,
I know that's a very talented NFL.
We're gonna let the architect of that Miami team coach that team. So Butch Davis is gonna coach that team.
That's definitely a better Miami team.
But Coker also had. I mean, he pretty much had Butch Davis's players when he had to go out and recruit himself. Was when it kind of started going down.
Well, no, but we're talking coaching, and what he did when he coached that 2001 Miami team was basically he made sure all the footballs were inflated and everyone had water.
Did I see a stat where if that 2001 Miami team did not score a touchdown the entire year, they still would have finished 8-4?
Yes, that is a correct stat. Yes, yeah.
Gee.
So,
Why?
I mean, go back and look. Those 2 years, the 2000 Canes, which not only beat Nikki's team on the field in the Sugar Bowl, but also beat them bloody to a pulp on Bourbon Street the night before. The 2000 Canes and the 01 Canes. If you look,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, what's his name? Alex.
I was
Brown,
blind that
Chicago
year.
Bears. That dude had 2 bloody black eyes in his press conference, and he goes, "I don't know who started it, but apparently the Canes finished it." If you look at the 2000 roster and the 01, I mean, that's like 50 NFL players in 2 years. I mean, that's
and they had corners. That's why the matchup with 2019 LSU is so interesting, Sean, is because those teams had corners.
Justin Jefferson. And then, again, we got to talk about the rules because you want to run across the middle with Ed Reed. I mean,
Samari Rowe.
I mean, what the 3rd generation of Blades? The Blades have been going to Miami forever. Yeah. I mean, the only thing LSU's got is, I mean, Joe Burrow runs circles around Ken Dorsey. So there's that. Joe Burrow's vastly superior to Ken Dorsey.
And
But,
hopefully stays healthy this year.
Well, we do. We love Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we get him on the program. Friend of the program.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, 2020 Alabama, 2019 LSU, 2004 USC that put 55 on Oklahoma, 2001 Miami, and then probably, those of us that remember 95 Huskers.
Yeah.
95 Huskers, absolutely.
I didn't like that game either.
That option.
Sorry, Nikki.
That was a
Sorry to
shitty
bring up a
game.
bad. Yeah.
I was blind back then, so I don't and deaf, so I didn't have to see or hear. But God, they were a fun team to watch. I don't care if they beat us. They were, you can't. Good football is good football.
All right.
They're
Well,
physically dominant.
all right. Well, I've got to head out because I've got to feed. I got to
Jason,
feed.
you have real quick time for our viewer. Give us a 2-minute synopsis of WrestleMania. Your thoughts. You're the WWE king here. Give us the
Yes.
quick rundown, and then we'll get you out of here.
Okay, night one, I thought was a little underwhelming for the undercard. Jey Uso winning over Gunther, finally putting him over because he's just got that good crowd energy when he gets to the ring. It was about time that Jey Uso finally got a strap. That was cool to see. But the highlight of night one, and yes, I know there's Jimmy Hart. I know there's Bobby the Brain Heenan. I know there's Jim Cornette and Slick, Classy Freddie Blassie. I can go on and on and on.
Paul Bearer.
But Paul Heyman is the greatest wrestling manager of all time after his performance on Saturday night in the main event night one. It was absolutely incredible. Like I followed this guy to when he was the promoter of the original ECW and how he turned a territory known as Eastern Championship Wrestling into a cult following in the 90s to be able to parlay that into a gig at WWE to where eventually WWE would buy out ECW. And he has made a very long career. Hall of Famer, deserves it, but greatest manager of all time after he turned the double switch by turning on CM Punk and then turning on Roman Reigns to align himself with Seth Rollins. Night two was a little bit better, but the main event was kind of underwhelming because, yes, John Cena did win the title, and it's good that they're giving him one last run before he rides off into the sunset. But you only bring Travis Scott out to the ring, and The Rock doesn't even make an appearance to either smile and nod at approval because John Cena sold his soul to the devil. That's what made it underwhelming. If The Rock had made an appearance to either smile and nod his head in approval after John Cena won, I think that could have taken it to a level. But the fact that it was just, Travis Scott gets a crossroads from Cody Rhodes, and then John Cena kicks him in the jewels, hits him with an AA, and it's lights out. It was kind of underwhelming, but
So,
it wasn't
question: Where do you put this WrestleMania in your pantheon of WrestleMania?
I don't even know if I put it top 10. I really don't.
How do you? Okay. So not top 10. Okay. How do you feel about John Cena breaking Ric Flair's record?
I'm fine with it. I mean, I think he's earned it. I really
You
do.
think he's earned it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, well, because also I grew up in the Attitude Era, and I kind of like at the genesis of the Ruthless Aggression era where John Cena started. So I had familiarity with John Cena back then, and I thought that he was really good. Now, I liked making the Florida fan George joke shorts with him, but I mean, he got over. I mean, he was.
And then I got one final question. Thoughts? WrestleMania on Easter weekend.
Yeah, that totally messed things up for me because I had to go to Alabama to visit my mother-in-law. So what I wound up doing, and God bless the times that we live in, because if I was trying to pull this off in 1996, I would have been very, very angry. But the fact that I had my phone with the Peacock app, and I
Did
actually
you make it to Alabama for Easter?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Good.
We went. I watched it from home Saturday night, night one. Night two, I was driving back to Nashville and actually had it on my phone with my Bluetooth in the dash, and I was listening to it while my wife and stepson were asleep. So I was able to actually keep up with it instead of like starting it at 9:30 and then staying up till 1 a.m. when I had to work the next morning.
I just figured WrestleMania either the weekend before or weekend prior would probably be better because people, Easter weekend, not saying everybody does Easter weekend, but it's still a big thing in the United
It
States.
messed up a lot of fans. It really did. It kind of caught everybody off guard. Like, crap!
I gotta ask you, how do you think it was out in Vegas last I checked this past weekend? You think that's the right place for WrestleMania?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good atmosphere. It really was. But the thing about it is, and like, I kind of like how WWE is doing things now with like these international tours. Like they're doing we called them pay-per-views, but now they're called premium live events because I have a subscription to Peacock. So you could say technically I'm paying per view, but I'm paying like a $7.99 a month subscription, and
you're getting a discount to get multiple views
which back in the day, one event would have been like $50.
Right.
So, but they call them premium live events now, and they've held them in Australia. They've held a couple of them in Europe and in Puerto Rico. But the thing about it is like it's one thing for like the American audiences, but when you watch one of those events at like those international sites, it's a completely different like aura, atmosphere.
So,
like it almost feels like
since you're our most diligent WWE viewer here on the podcast, is it as crazy in say France or Australia or Japan as it is here in America?
I would say it's growing. It's growing quite a bit. It's grown quite a bit. Now, don't get me wrong. I still have my heart for New Japan Pro Wrestling, like even back in the day to watch it, because you look at a lot of the AEW, some of the AEW stars now, like Will Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita, easy for me to say. Like a lot of those guys came, they did independent work at like New Japan, in Mexico at AAA, which by the way, AAA just got purchased by the WWE, which is like a big seismic shake in the wrestling world. Like we're way past like the days of territories. Now we're like claiming countries.
So if you're the WWE, I think the place that you want to go is Mexico. I think it'd be an event similar to something like Iron Maiden at Rock in Rio, where you have 180,000 people, right? I mean, wrestling is massive in Mexico, so I think that they should do something special in Mexico City. I think it would rule.
I wouldn't have much confidence if Vince McMahon was still on the helm of this, because I feel like he would just take a big giant dookie right on top of its head if that was the case. Because if you look back at the 90s, if you ever read the lawsuit in the grand jury report on Vince McMahon's alleged lawsuit, you find some very disturbing things. But
now, do they talk about Jason? Do they talk about that in the Netflix McMahon, which I think everyone, if you're interested in WWE, should probably.
I don't know if they got into detail on that. Which, by the way, that reminds me, I need to finish that because I think I got like a couple episodes in. And
I do too. I'm with you, brother.
but because like back in the 90s, when Eric Bischoff was able to basically parlay like lucha libre wrestling and Japan strong style wrestling into Monday Nitro and WCW, like that gave WCW relevance, along with Hollywood Hogan and the NWO, which set it over the top. Vince McMahon was never really either one able to do it or two interested in really doing that with the light heavyweights. You've seen over time where they've started going to more of those like lucha libre, cruiserweight, high-flying styles of battle. But now I think with Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H, at the helm now, you're seeing they're starting to really invest with like Penta, who's like big in Mexico, Ray Phoenix, big in Mexico. Like they're starting to get more spotlight now, and I think that would be good for the WWE going forward.
Do you think it? I mean, it's going to go international. I mean, big time, right?
Oh, it's already there. It's already
there. So I mean, but develop.
Or Doug, are you trying to say it's time to go home?
Well, Dr. Balls, give us just a second. What we need to develop is those international stars in those countries, right? Is that what you're saying, Jason?
Yes. Well, they get development, but some of them like a little bit more freedom because, like, the WWE is very restrictive as far as contracts and like where they can go. AEW allows their wrestlers to go and work other independent organizations so they can make a little bit more money. They did that in TNA for a while too, or the old NWA that Jeff Jarrett used to have, but is now owned by, I think, a Canadian conglomerate. But like, there's a little bit more freedom there, which you see. Look, a lot of people crap on AEW. I like AEW. I think it's different. It doesn't have to be like WWE to me. I think it's just a nice little underground kind of, cult wrestling in a way because their personalities are a little more brash. They're a little bit more brash and a little bit more raw compared to some of the WWE characters, which, I mean, I tell my friends because they're like, you're a 40-year-old guy who still watches wrestling. I was like, it's just theater with the audience involved. If you look at it that way, it's a lot more fun. If you look at it at a combat sport, you're going to come off as a dweeb. If you look at it,
no, but it's big time entertainment. It's big time.
It's exciting.
Yeah,
I think it's more the excitement.
It's a soap opera. It's a soap opera for men. And the audience.
It's the Real Housewives for men. It's very cool. It's very, and also,
choreographed
these guys are not athletes. It's silly. These guys train every day of the year for this, and they put on performances that I'd ask anybody else sitting at home to try to duplicate, and you can't do it. Watch a guy fly off a turnbuckle is incredible.
Yeah.
I thought WrestleMania was great. I didn't think it was my favorite. I think Jason echoed that statement. Nikki, did you watch it?
I haven't watched it. I was watching hockey and baseball.
Yeah, y'all were watching college baseball. I was watching
which is college baseball's cooking up. I think we're going to get to it next week. So I'm going to punt it back to Dr. Balls. Dr. Balls, you give us our closing statement. We've run it late tonight, but
give us our benediction.
Yeah, give us our benediction, Dr. Balls.
Well, all I got to say is join the groups, like, subscribe, follow the X&O and Smacking Off pages, follow all of us individually in the different groups and online. And thank you for watching Smacking Off the podcast.
Dr. Balls, are we going to do it next week?
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna. What we hope for is that another story similar to Nico, his travails falls in our lap, and we'll work it out. Obviously, we could work it out. We worked last week's off season. It's an all-time record view for off season show that I know of for the show. So I feel that we can go right on. Obviously, we can fill 2 hours easily. So let's do it again.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We love our viewers. You guys have a great
long live the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Love y'all. Have a good week.
Bye.
You too.
Bye now.